Hi, just a note before we begin the show. If you are new here or if you have not heard the news, my friend, co-host, and writing partner Doug Riggle passed away on October 3rd, 2024. He had been battling cancer for quite a while. Um, there is a link to another video in the description of this one that will tell you exactly what happened. And also, there's a link to his obituary and organizations that you can donate to in honor of his memory. The episode that you're about to watch was recorded on July 12th, 2024. This is the first of 6 episodes that were recorded but not released before Doug's death. Yeah, we hope that you enjoy the show, and please continue to keep Doug's family and friends in prayer during this season. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.
I would be leaving Disneyland and feeling completely worn out and exhausted. And this was only, when I do my comedy cowboy shows, they were like maybe, 16, 20 minutes at a pop. And I do 7 of those a day. And yet I'd be walking out of there just feeling so completely depleted and draining. And I just thought to myself once when I was walking out, I just thought, this is not rocket science what we're doing. Like it's not like
Right.
I'm trying to save the world on this, or it's not like I'm trying to discover a new algorithm or a cure for a cancer, and it's like I'm feeling this low down. And I had to start making some decisions for myself. And part of those decisions were about actively removing myself from these scenarios. Hi, welcome to I'd Rather Be a Buffalo. My name is Kevin Gregg. I am a creative director, producer, and I've dealt with a whole bunch of junk in my life. I've dealt with control issues, victim issues. I have sobriety from alcohol for over 10 years, thanks to God, getting through the storms of life. Welcome to the show. Who are you?
I'm Doug Riddle. I am a change consultant out there in the business world. Um, I am an uncle and a brother to 5 fabulous sisters, and I am a survive can't not a cancer survivor. I'm surviving cancer right now. Good way to put it. And just love life and looking forward to um heading into this life as head on as I possibly can, which is part of the reason why we're here today, to kind of help you get to that point where you can just take life by the horns and head into it. Hopefully not in Yellowstone, in the buffalo. Don't go out there personally and grab them by the horns. Never a good thing. But
Never.
we hope you can at least take proverbial life by the horns.
That's right. And that's why we're glad that you're here with us on the show. I'd rather be Buffalo to help you get through life's storms with Christ's help, grow deeper in your relationship with God, and to figure out what your purpose is according to God's call for your life. Welcome. We've been talking about a whole bunch of stuff. I had something that popped up this week for me that I wanted to share with because I'd had personal experience. We're going to be talking about energy vampires. Doug, when I say the term energy vampire, what's the first thing that pops in your mind?
Initially, it's like a little sci-fi. Vampire is really popular in like the early 2000s with Buffy and all that, and
Yeah.
Angel, but I actually think through just the people in my life who are draining. That's really what it comes down to. And I've had a few over the decades, not the years, the decades.
Yeah. No, I get it. There's a show, What We Do in the Shadows. It's adult comedy for sure, but they actually have one of the vampires on that show is a energy vampire, and he's very much like a very sort of business regular kind of office guy, and he's very droll with stuff. I forget what the character's name is. I'm terribly sorry, but it's actually pretty darn funny. It's sort of a droll guy that he just sucks the life out of people. Yeah, I'll tell you, it popped up in my mind, and I wanted to talk about it with Doug because I just tweeted about it yesterday, um, because I have gone through not only have I had it in the past, but I've had some situations that have come up here in the last couple of weeks where I have been dealing with, some people that are, it's family, extended family, and all that stuff, and you're trying to help people out. And you can find yourself, and I have found this in the Christian walk and the Christian life, is that yes, we are called to we are called to help with service and to love on other people and to help them. But then occasionally, and I don't want to say occasionally, if you are a certain type of personality that's like, yeah, sure, I will do that, I will step in, that there are those people that, whether they realize it or not, and more than likely they don't realize it, all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I need you to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and it can be non-ending. And also, when I'm talking about energy vampires as well, they're also these people that it's it can feel at times it's never really uplifting. I've had so many, I've had varieties of different types of people like this. I mean, I'll let you sharing the experiences that you've had. And listen, we don't have to go into specifics to, like, you know what I mean? We want to protect certain people that are out there. As I said, there are
Guilty.
some people, you say it again?
The guilty.
Right. But maybe hopefully, maybe hopefully as we're having this conversation, somebody starts listening and just starts kind of going, "Oh gosh, that's all the things I have, all the hallmarks I have. Maybe I'm one of those." But what are situations that come to your mind with this, like specific people or specific scenarios you've dealt with?
Two specifically, one's always my dad growing up. It's like no matter what type of effort I had, it just always fell short. And he was a constant reminder, vocal reminder, sometimes physical reminder of my shortcomings in life. And rarely, I can probably count on maybe two hands the amount of times I left a conversation with him and didn't feel
Mm,
let down or and had my just energy sapped, like leaving there. The
mm,
times that it did happen, there was a pattern because in my adulthood, I'd go to see my dad and shift my mindset rather than thinking about all the things he's going to say that's going to really annoy me and bring me down. I just started praying for him.
yeah,
And those always coincided with those times where we had a good conversation, we had a good visit.
yeah, yeah. It's it's definitely a choice and a change, right? Where
Yeah.
it's interesting when you bring up that thing, when you bring up the example with your dad. I had a woman once, she gave her testimony, was, Celebrate Recovery, and she gave her testimony. She was raised by a German immigrant mother, and the the area that her mother had been brought in, very Prussian, very Austrian. I know that I'm getting several of those countries mixed up, but it's sort of that, it's that feel, right? It's that, that European, German, Austrian feel. And, this woman was sharing that her mom always told her what she was doing wrong. Like, that's exactly how she was raised. You didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. And it wasn't until decades later, when she was an older woman, that she realized, oh, my mom didn't have those, she didn't she didn't have that ability. Like, she thought that her duty as a mother was not to, it's not about like, oh, you did this right, you did this right. It was about pointing out the things that are wrong to avoid not doing those things wrong, right? And so it was sort of this sort of upside down, well, I'm showing you what not to do, right? So if you don't do those things, or you do these things correctly, you're going to save yourself some stuff. But it can get into a continual pattern when you're not receiving any sort of praise, uplifting, anything like that, exactly that, you end up feeling like, oh gosh, I'm walking on eggshells, right?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I feel there are times where I feel like, especially where service is concerned for certain people that I know, um, I find myself almost like hiding or stepping back and kind of going, you know, I better not. I better not even make a remote offer of availability. Because if I make even a remote offer of availability, that's going to get all sucked up, right? And I think the thing that drives me crazy, and the thing that sort of made me go when these feelings were kind of coming up for me over the last couple of weeks, I think part of it too was also frustration with myself, right? Like there's frustration with myself where I just kind of go, gosh darn it, how do I keep ending up here? Right.
Yeah.
Or it's like one of those things of going, and really what it is it's me not making a very clear, loving boundary. Because and guess what it is, right? It's part of this is going, yeah, sometimes you have to just say no, which we've talked about over and over again. You have to say no, even though you're afraid of what the response could be. Sometimes these are people that are in our immediate circles or that are in our family, and we're afraid of letting them down or what that is going to mean on the other side of it. And I think that that's the thing that I battle with, you know?
What comes to mind too, besides my dad, over the decades, is people in church. And I start feeling bad for them because no one's lovingly talked to them about how they come across.
Mhm.
And every time there was one woman at my church, and I'm like, I did everything I could not to sit anywhere near her because any conversation just turned into this me getting involved in the latest drama in her life and how everything's horrible and God's not listening. And it's like she invites the stuff in
Correct.
spiritually.
Yes.
And I feel bad because I never had that conversation with her, nor did anyone else ever in the church. It's like
Yes.
we need to be better at telling the truth in love.
Yeah, I think that there is something about, you know what it is? I think part of this is about hearing what somebody's saying and trying to be as neutral as possible, right? Like being neutral as possible when you're hearing what their stuff is. Yes, part of this is about like repeating things back to make sure that you're getting the clarification of what this is, but also like not falling into the trap, because that's exactly what it is. Because I think what happens with these people, and these are people that I've met, it's not going to matter what you say or what solves or anything that you try to offer. It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Even if that situation was going to get solved with these people, um some other thing's going to come up. Rick Warren would describe, there's another term that he uses for people like this, which is like crazy makers. You've got like these crazy makers that exist in your life,
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter what you do, right? It's always going to be there's always going to be something that's it's going to be the next thing that's going to go wrong. Because and I don't know what I'm not sure what the payoff is for them. I'm sure it's has something to do with either the attention or the focus or whatever that is. But man, and to your point, it starts getting to a point where you go, hey, I'm hearing the same story over and over and over and over again, and there's no change that's
Right.
happening with you. And again, when you start thinking about this in terms of program or 12-step work, there are moments where you have to go, maybe the best thing that's happening is that this person is getting that there is nobody around them, because the person needs to hit a rock bottom.
Mhm.
You eventually need to get to a rock bottom to kind of go, what the heck's going on, right? But Satan's very masterful that way too, because he can always get in there and just go, well, that's just the way the world is. Everything's against you, right? And we can
Yeah.
keep playing those tapes. I mean, I had situations over the years when I'd be in break rooms at Disney. There would be, when you're working with comedians, there can be some very broken people. There's broken people that get into that business, right? There's broken people that get into that business, and they can be brilliant and hilarious and just phenomenal on stage. And yet, having one-on-one conversations with them, it can be some of the darkest, you know, darkest, most depressed, dark cloud that hangs over them. And man, did I have a few of those. We would just have situations. So I'd be working on a comedy show that was down there, and I mean some really funny stuff that you get to do on stage. But that sometimes those dressing rooms, depending on who the combinations of people were, oh my gosh, I mean, it was like palpable when you would walk into those rooms and just go, I mean, it was so oppressive because it didn't matter what was said, it was just always how people were getting screwed, what was wrong, what's not working right, how everything's against them, how a system's against them or whatever, gossiping about other people. And, eventually you just get to a point where you just go, I can't take this. I remember the amount of times that I'd be leaving Disneyland and I would think to myself, I would be leaving Disneyland and feeling completely worn out and exhausted. And this was only, when I do my comedy cowboy shows, they were like maybe, 16, 20 minutes at a pop. And I do 7 of those a day. Like that's it, It's like seven cowboy shows like that. And yet I'd be walking out of there just feeling so completely depleted and draining. And I just thought to myself once when I was walking out, I just thought, this is not rocket science, what we're doing. Like I'm not, it's not like
Right.
I'm trying to save the world on this, or it's not like I'm trying to discover a new algorithm or a cure for a cancer, and it's like I'm feeling this low down. And I had to start making some decisions for myself. And part of those decisions were about one, actively removing myself from these scenarios. So I can't tell you the amount of times that I would like do a show, come back, and then I just like grab my computer or notebook or book or Bible or whatever I was reading, and then just go somewhere else, and I'd sure get a lot of dirty looks, where'd you go? What's going on? Oh, okay. Again, then they said, oh, so you're not good enough to sit with us. And it's just like going, I just need my space, right? So you just have to start claiming yourself. And I'll tell you, getting those little respites for myself, it's just what I needed, right? Because at least I start feeling better at the end. At least I start feeling better at the end of the day instead of suffering through just nonsense, just not worth it.
So what happened this week?
I want to get as general as possible.
Of course.
I will just say I've been trying to help. I've been trying to help some people that need help. And I get it. Like they're going through some issues that are happening with themselves. They're going through some challenges. And yeah, I think what happens is like once there's an offer of help, it's very much like oh, and can you also help with this, and can you help with this, and can you help with this? And then next thing you know, like hours and hours are just like gone like that, and it's very challenging because, I want to make sure that there's a few things that I'm juggling, right? Which is I want to make sure that I'm present for my relationship with my wife, Kate, and for particularly here with my son, Duncan, with autism, and then also in communication with my other sons, right? There's only so many hours in the day. And, then there's other work and stuff that I'm working on. And a lot of this stuff is, I'm doing independent producing stuff. So it's like, I kind of don't get paid if I'm not doing the work, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm not getting paid if I don't do the work. And I think with some of these people that are in my life, um, that just kind of doesn't, that just sort of doesn't go through their mind. There's a little bit of it, like, there is some gratitude and thank you and all that stuff, but um, they don't watch the clock, you know, they kind of don't watch the clock when that stuff's happening. And so that can be a little bit like, you know, and I think that I find myself just going, yeah, I just need to lovingly claim this. I just lovingly need to claim the no's that are in this. I'll give you more details when we're finished with with the live record. But I want to be as general as possible because because again, I don't want to fully out these people and just want to completely love on them. And I think more than anything else, it's me having to look at this and go, all right, Lord, what are you asking me to? There's a couple of things I feel like he's asking me to work through, right? Number one, asking me to step out in courage with some of these relationships to be able to say, yeah, I need you to be able to say these things with strong love. Recognize that there are opportunities that I can serve, even when you're dealing with some personalities that can be a little bit frustrating. That can be a little bit frustrating, and I think that God's probably trying to work on those with me to say, hey, there's an issue here that's going on with this person in your life, and there's some unresolved issues that you kind of got to work through. Now, some of those things may not get worked out in an actual conversation with the person because the person may not be able to handle it, you know? But I do know that I need to be praying for grace as I'm working through that with the person as well. I just think that those were sort of the biggest things. I will tell you the thing that really helped for me, which ties in with a lot of stuff that we do. So I came back from one of these interactions, and Doug, I was wiped out. Like that's the thing that happens when with sort of an energy vampire or crazy maker or whatever. It's not about doing the thing, it's about the aftermath that happens. Like the aftermath that happens afterwards is you just feel like it's all gone, right? And so I had a moment the other day where I felt like that. I felt like even though it had just been a few hours that I'd sort of taken care of this stuff and I still sort of had a big chunk of my day ahead of me, I just thought, oh man, I am completely emotionally and mentally worn out from this stuff. I felt like I'd had a 14-hour day, and I was only I was only a third into my day. And I had this moment where I just went, you know what? I'm gonna grab a power nap and I'm gonna reset. And again, even when I woke up after the power nap, I was still kind of like still some of the stuff was going on. I started writing. I started writing. And I just thought, let me write out some of this stuff that's here. And then I thought, you know what? I need to write out how you would work through this. And if I was giving this advice to somebody else, what would I say to them? And then next thing you know, it turned into like a tweet thread and all this other stuff. But I was so grateful because it course corrected my day. And it ended up becoming like, okay, I've gone through this, I'm experiencing this, and I can use this experience for other people to help them out. Great. Let's turn it into that, you know? And that was the thing that I was really happy to be able to go, all right, Lord, thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for an opportunity to have me recognize like there are some aspects of some of my relationships with people that I can't control what they're going to say or do, right? And there's something, but I can control how I let it affect me and how I respond to it, not react to it, right? Because I know if a thing is coming up for me where I really want to kind of like get angry or snap or react, that's God's not involved in that. That is Satan that's involved in that. That's trying to get in and just go, good, let's make it even messier for you, you know? So those are some of my thoughts on that. Anything else that you would like to share or add?
I never thought before about using writing as a way to kind of clear up those conversations with people and to reframe how you're thinking about it or how you would address it. I've got a buddy of mine, love him to death. He's in his early 40s. We've been everywhere together, even globally on mission trips. But there's always this story about a girl he's got a big heart for, and either he knows that she's not interested or he thinks she might be interested. And then he wants to spend hours discussing what his approach might be and how he should address this. What happens if she says no? Well, what happens if he says yes? What? And it's just exhausting. And so I've actually, on a couple of topics, kind of given him some limitations, like we're not talking about these topics anymore
Yeah, totally.
because it will just, I want to spend time with you and I want to evolve our friendship. But all the advice I've given you over the years never pans out. You don't take my advice. You do what you're going to do anyway. You're just listening to get approval, not listening to get advice.
Oh my gosh.
So I've just kind of had to put some boundaries in place. But I like the idea he might be coming down to visit me in a couple months. So I've got to think of I may think of a couple of the topics that have been off limits for about a year or so, some a little longer, and just kind of walk through my thoughts behind it and see if some
Yeah,
of that
It's
works.
it's a challenge, like when you're dealing with, if there's the opportunity to be able to deepen and grow the friendship, right? And if the friendship's in a place like that, right, which you've talked about before, which you've had with Rick before, where you've been able to go, hey man, here's an issue where I feel like we got jammed up. Can we please talk about that, right? And I do think if it's one of those things where the person is open to it and receptive to it, to say, again, what it's the Oreo cookie thing, right? Let's start out with something really nice. Like, let's start with the nice thing of like what I really love about you. We're gonna get to the heart of the hard stuff I got to get through, and then we're gonna end it with something really cool. That might be a way to handle it. Um, but boy, you you just made me think about, there was this person I knew down at Disney who was you get younger people that it's sort of the same thing. It's younger people that would come in and they would want to come into the dressing room to visit a couple of the actors to talk. You're working sort of collaterally with all these people. And this one person that came in and just said, "Really, hey, is can we talk to you? I've got these issues." And this person had this habit of doing this with every actor that was usually a little bit, like maybe 10 or 15 years older than the person. They're always looking for sort of like almost parental advice or advice from like an older brother or sister. And I remember once I spent probably a 35-minute break just like fully talking. I put all of my work, all this stuff to the side, unpack this stuff. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then a person dropped by the next day and wanted to talk about the same thing. And exactly that. It was like I had not said a word from the day before. And all the person wanted to do was to be on repeat. And I ran into somebody else who said, "Oh yeah, I talked to the person and they asked me this." It was like the same thing. And just like going, "Oh, you're not interested in sorry, you're not interested in change at all. You're just interested in this thing." And I get it. Like there's some people that I do understand. Like there are some people that are legitimately stuck in certain issues, that they might be stuck in a road where they cannot make a decision. They cannot make a decision. Usually what'll happen, what I've had in my experience over the years, is really to get to a point to go, hey, in the end, I can't make this decision for you. This is going to be between you and God. Maybe your therapist, if you got a
Right.
therapist that's
Yeah.
involved with it. But like, I can't help you. I've had some of those hard conversations with people over the years, which like I really have heard their stuff over and over again. And believe me, man, that there are some people that are out there that deal with again, Satan is crafty. Satan will cripple people with indecision. They will cripple people with indecision in their life to go, I'm not sure, shouldn't I, and then next thing you know, it's exactly where God wanted, where Satan wants you to stay. Great. Stay right there forever. Stay right there forever. And don't make any move forward. And don't act on anything, and don't have God come in and be able to help you and to create, an incredible miracle out of whether you make the right decision or the wrong decision. I want you to stay right there. That's satanic, right? It's satanic.
It just reminded me of a woman. She didn't drive, and every now and then me and another friend would pick her up on the way to church and then take her home because she was right on the way, which was no problem. But I remember a couple of times sitting out there waiting in the car. I think I pick her up at we had church in the evening. I'd pick her up at like 4 o'clock. Church was at 5 o'clock, and it was a bit of a drive to church. And then finally she'd come out. She's like, "Sorry guys, I was just praying about which purse I should bring today." I'm like, "I love that you have a great prayer life. I don't think God gives two cares about
No,
what purse you want to bring with you." But she was honestly in there praying about which purse she should bring to
there's a
church.
little bit of that. That starts to get into a little bit of the Christianese, doesn't it? But just like,
Yeah,
well, I just need to pray about what I should eat today. You
yeah.
know, what am I gonna have for lunch? Let me pray on this. Okay.
I'm a little more simple than that. I open the fridge, there it is. I got it. I'm good.
Pray about what verse I'm gonna bring. God bless her.
Yeah.
It's all kinds, man. They're all the sons and daughters of God for sure. For
Amen.
sure. Uh what do you think if I were to ask you what would be your top advice to give to somebody that's dealing with an energy vampire in their life? What would you say?
Combination of establishing good boundaries and understanding their purpose of coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it to, and this goes back to the boundaries as well, do they just want you to listen?
Mm-hmm.
And I know husbands and wives have to deal with this a lot. Sometimes the wife just wants you to listen,
Mm-hmm.
not diagnose, not solve the problem. Guys are built to solve problems, so that's our first response. It's like even that simple question, like, do you just need me to listen, or are you looking for advice
Right.
up front? Those would be my kind of top two things. But I loved your idea about then taking time a little later and rehashing it when you're on your own, and then writing through some of that, and then having maybe a different tactic for the next time the interaction occurs.
You have to. It can't be a repeat of the same thing.
Right.
Because if you keep doing it again and again, or keep allowing the same circumstances to happen, they have no idea, right?
Right.
They're gonna have it's in their world, they're just like, oh, well, that's it. I just called Doug, I just called Kevin. They're there for me, right?
Yeah.
Until you put the parameters on certain things. I've gotten very good with that over the years. Not that I've gotten, I will say what I have done is my immediate thing is to really, as much as I can, my first tendency is to remove myself from the person, the situation. That's my tendency. And I like exactly what you talked about, which is like, hold on, what's the purpose of the person coming to me, right? And I would say if it's people that I don't have a really close relationship with or knowledge with, my first tendency is to kind of go, we're going to separate here, right?
Yeah.
Right. But if the person is very close, I do like that idea of kind of going, hold on a second, what's the purpose of it? I've put in time limits on stuff that I have with people all the time.
That I was thinking about that when you were just as soon as you said that, I'm like, time boxing something is so valuable. Otherwise, there have been times I've sat at church talking to someone in the pew, they're shutting the lights out,
Oh yeah.
and the person's still going on after an hour.
Oh yeah. It's like, hey, yeah, I got 15 minutes.
Right.
Great. I got 15 minutes. Let's go. And I got very comfortable with with some people as they're talking to be able to kind of give them like a 5-minute warning or something like that to go, hey, that's awesome. I just need to let you know I'm about 5 minutes out before I got to go, but just want to respect you on that. Right. So I've gotten very good with that. For me, those time limits. That's not necessarily, I wouldn't say that that's always the case with energy vampires, but I do think that I do think that that technique does help with them, because you start again, it all falls in with the boundary setting of going, here it is. Here it is. And then, again, just learning to have the no's, and then if possible, the uncomfortable conversations of like, hey, I don't really think I can help you here, right? Or I'm at a point now where I'm all full of love. I'm all full of love. So there you go. Well, thank you, Doug, for listening to me on that. I truly appreciate that. I hope that helped you guys that may be there. Do you have somebody that's an energy vampire? Please do not give specific details in the comments because we don't. But maybe if there's general stuff, if there's things
Let's
that
share.
yeah, I mean, if there's experiences that you've had that you want to share in the comments down below, please do. If you like this, amazing. If you want to share this with somebody else to go, oh my gosh, don't do this. Don't say, I know there's an energy vampire and I'm going to send it to them and that they'll get exactly what this is. They won't get it. So, but the best thing you can do is like, share, subscribe, follow us on Instagram at I'd Rather Be a Buffalo. That's where we have all of our latest stuff. And we'll point you to offerings that we have with month-long free journals that we have, the Discovery Buffalo Journal that's coming on, which is a year-long process to dive in and use writing to just grow deeper, man. Grow deeper, get through that junk, that stuff that you have not unpacked, so you can grow deeper in that relationship with God to help you out. So there you go. I'm going to let you have the closing thought, Doug.
I was just thinking about this because I did a post on social media this week. People don't think it's important sometimes about the people that they have in their lives, the friends they surround themselves with. And I was looking at Mark 2, where the friend's faith of the paralyzed man, that's what Jesus responded to.
Correct.
So this guy's friends had such faith that Jesus healed him.
Right.
So who you surround yourself with is very important. Doesn't mean that the energy vampires can't be some of your close friends, but start working on those because their faith is just as important as yours.
Amen. Couldn't say it any better myself. Well, thank you. Thanks, Doug, for being here. Thank you guys for watching us on here, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.